everyone, and welcome to another solo episode of the Do Good to Lead Well podcast series. I'm your host, Craig Dowden, and each month I record a solo episode that outlines the thought-provoking and engaging conversations, research, and experiences that I've had over the past 30 days. And this month is an extra special solo episode for me because I was able to combine my love for travel with work. And in this case, I was able to visit the Hästens factory, a 170-year-old family-owned business who manufacture the top, highest quality beds, mattresses in the world. And I had the privilege to speak with Jan Ryde, their CEO, who, under his leadership, the company has grown by 50,000%. I did not misstate that, 50,000%. And what he's done, he promised when he reached £1 billion in revenue that he would write a book outlining the different philosophies that underlie the Hästens brand and Hästens journey. And the title of his book, which comes out in January of 2024, is When Business is Love. And what I'm going to do for this episode is provide a little bit of a sneak peek. You'll have to wait until January for the full episode, the full interview to drop. And as you'll see, based on what I'm about to share with you today, this was an extraordinary conversation. And right away, you can probably guess the title, When Business is Love, that's a little bit counter trend. You may not see business and love often being intertwined. And this is very purposeful for Jan and his entire team. And in fact, the whole philosophy around the organization and how they approach things, how they approach each other, how they approach their craft is the foundation is love. And as part of my conversation, so part of the day that I was able to spend at their factory in Köping, Sweden, I had the privilege to speak with Jan for the podcast episode. And as part of the day to fully immerse myself so that I could really get a better understanding of what it is like and who they are and what they're about, I toured the factory. And it was exceptional. It was extraordinary in so many ways, and I feel incredibly privileged to be able to give you a little bit of an inside look on this. And what's fascinating is the day of our arrival was met there. Jan right away came down front lobby, said hello, welcomed us to Hästens, and went to the cafeteria and relaxed and got to know each other with pastries and other things, and then so kindly offered the floor supervisor, someone who's been working with Hästens for several decades, to walk us through and to see the factory floor, if you will. And it was a unique experience. As soon as you enter into the factory, there was an employee wall of fame, where every single employee who works at Hästens, their photo was exhibited. And there was no hierarchy, there was no positioning, no photos are bigger or smaller than others. It just was a wonderful constellation of the faces and names who are a part of this organization. And what's also really fascinating about it is that elsewhere, there's almost like a celebrity wall of fame where so many high-profile celebrities that each of us would know by name, and they're there, their photos are there more as a badge of honor, representing the exceptional quality that goes into the craftsmanship of the mattresses, the beds, everything that they do there. And it's not something that's brash and in your face and like, hey, look at all of this social media cred and all of this fancy marketing and promotion that we can do from it. So it was really interesting to see those two counterbalances. And throughout the day, had the opportunity to visit, speak with, and experience the factory. And right away, what was so intriguing about it is that it's not like a factory at all. if I were to say to you, you're about to go on a factory tour, what do you think would be the sights and sounds and smells that you would have? Chances are that you would have the dusty, very loud machinery, some yelling and high-pitched tone and other things like that. And walking through the Hästens factory was like no other experience that I've had. There was just this serenity, this calmness to it. People's voices were very low and just like we're having a conversation in person. There was no increased intensity of tone or anything like that. There was just a pureness, if you will, in terms of that orientation. And what's also interesting is that every single employee within the company, including Jan himself, who was CEO, they've done each of the elements. The Hästens mattresses are predominantly handmade. They're custom made, custom to order. And everybody, they stitch every thread, they do everything within it. The vast majority of constructing these extraordinary mattresses is done by hand. So it takes hours and hours and hours. And what's really fascinating about their operating philosophy is that every employee has the chance and must learn about the entire process, to participate in the entire process, and take some time fulfilling each of the roles. And what that does is create a deeper sense of connection to the products that they are selling to their customers. People can have the chance to learn and experiment with different types of activities that are part of that journey, and then learn where they want to specialize and spend some time. And so this whole orientation is quite remarkable. And in fact, the cleanliness within the factory, again, it was amazing. If I had dropped something on the floor, like a piece of candy or something, it might even be, hey, I'll look at the 5-second rule. And it just was that type of experience. So clean, so tidy, so pristine, and was really wonderful to experience. Another really fascinating piece about this organization is that, as I mentioned, it's 170 years old. The employees who are there have been there for an extraordinary amount of time. Like, they are in many ways lifelong employees, and they stay. The newest people, sometimes it can be 10 years is a relative newbie. And so that level of commitment. What also struck me about the experience was that there were boomerang employees, if you will. So individuals who had worked with Hästens, and I met several throughout the day that I spent there, and some had come back multiple times. And what's amazing is just the level of care and compassion that was taken around those departures. So when they left and to pursue another opportunity, it wasn't about, well, how dare you leave us, and boy, you're going to regret this. From Jan and others at the company, it was essentially a warm goodbye. Thank you so much for your contribution here. Really appreciate the value that you provided during your time, and wishing you nothing but the best in your next opportunity. And what's incredible in speaking with the people who have come back, they each confided in me, talked to me, and these are separate conversations, that there was just nothing like it. In other places, the culture didn't match what was present at Hästens. And myself being able to personally experience it, it was a privilege and an eye-opener for me. What it did was translate the words on the page of the book into an entirely different level. It provided a much more immersive experience, and one that I'm never going to forget because of that. Because we can talk about, we can say, we can write different things, and yet then how we live and manifest our beliefs, our values, sometimes are those, to what extent are they aligned? As My friend and collaborator, Alan Mullally, has said authentic leadership is when our values, beliefs, and behaviors are in alignment. And what was beautiful about this experience when I visited the factory was how authentic the experience felt for me. And reading the book in advance of my podcast conversation with Jan, I could really feel the pages come to life, the messages and the notes of inspiration that were included in those pages. I could really sense them when I was there. And this was present in the Boomerang employees, those that have returned, and how passionately they speak about the culture, about the people, about the mission, about Jan, and their really deeply ingrained sense of purpose. And this really made this experience, as you can probably tell by how I'm recounting it, just extra special for me. And in the conversation with Jan, and there's so much that you'll see when the episode drops in January of 2024, so many thought-provoking questions that we discuss, so many nuggets within our discussion. We talked a lot about having a philosophy of abundance and an abundance mindset, and how that has a profound impact on the choices we make and the things that we do versus if we're approaching a situation through a scarcity mindset. And there were so many great questions that we explored together. One of my favorites was in the book. He will ask people, he asked me this when he met me, is, what makes you awesome? And there are a number of reasons why that spoke to me. People who know me personally and professionally will comment on how I tend to use the word often on a fairly regular basis. I'm excitable and excited, and I love to frame things in an awesome umbrella. When the Lego movie came out and the theme song of Everything is Awesome, I had multiple people who don't even know each other, aren't in nowhere near the same circles, reach out to me and go, "Hey, Craig, we found your theme song." And for a CEO of a 170-year-old company to ask these questions, this question of people, I just thought was incredibly inspiring. And also to think about our answers to that question. How often in our experiences have someone came up to us and said, "Hey, Craig, what makes you so awesome?" Perhaps the closest question we might be asked is, what are our strengths, or what are we passionate about, or when are we at our best? For me personally, I just love that emphasis. Let's go to the next level. Let's talk about, why are we awesome? And then what's wonderful about that question is now we really get to approach it from a different level of altitude, a different level for emotional engagement. And so this is the philosophy that underlies the book. This is the philosophy that underlies the organization. And to me, I feel really privileged. It's such a treat to be able to share that with you earlier in 2024. And when I was thinking about this past month and the privileged experiences that I've had, this day that I was able to spend with Jan, his team, and everyone at the Hästens factory, it was a highlight for my year, in fact. And what it did was really reinforce the core ideas of the Do Good to Lead Well podcast. When business is love, a lot of times, even though these ideas are seen as oil and water, counterintuitive, working against one another, when we can fully embrace those concepts, when we fully commit to pursuing those values and living and leading in that way, it is exceptional. And the results that can come from that are truly extraordinary. This isn't a company that, again, their growth trajectory is not stunted, it's not in decline. As I said at the outset of this episode, it has grown, Hästens has grown by 50,000% by fully embracing a philosophy of when business is love. Thank you for tuning in to this solo episode for September of 2023. Thank you so much for your ongoing support and ideas and feedback and suggestions. And I can't wait to have another engaging episode with you next week. Until then, take care. Bye for now.